Welcome to the Highly Evolved Male Summit. I'm your host, Dathan Nukalta, and today we have Zarathustra, internationally known founder of Fifth Dimensional Quantum Healing and Awareness, spiritual teacher and master healer. He offers a unique blend of highly advanced transformative healing and awareness training programs. After 25 years of studying with Eastern and Western masters, Zarathustra helps people activate their own inner healing. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to connect with you. I'm feeling like today's interview could open up some new pathways for people.
Certainly. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Excellent, excellent. So you must have a very interesting story, and I'd really like to know about what life was like before you became a spiritual teacher and master healer.
I'd been a lover of the spirit and had a very deep love of God from childhood. So in my early 20s, I got pulled into the world of spirit. And I began to experience encounters with trans-dimensional beings, as well as some living masters. And the healing energy would come and go. And there were times that it would present itself and make itself available to me, but it wasn't consistent. So through a series of different events, I finally end up going to India, and I found the Sat Guru, and I sat with him, and the story kind of evolved from there. But things weren't consistent. I would go into this spiritual world as far as being a seeker and looking for meaning of life, and ultimately looking for inner peace. You know, I believe that we're all looking for happiness, and we're looking when we get pulled into this path. And prior to getting really pulled into this path, a part of it is that we think by acquiring objects of desires, whether it's love or money or fame or status, we are conditioned to believe that that's the source of our happiness. So, and then when we get exposed to the spirit, we begin to realize that there is something much greater than all of those other things, and which we begin to look for something which is permanent, because acquiring those objects of desires brings temporarily satisfaction and happiness, but it doesn't last very long. You know, once you get what you want, then you're looking for something else, or you get tired of it. So, but basically we're looking for happiness. So answering your question, I did get pulled into the world of spirit in my mid-20s, late 20s, and but it would you know, I would get into it and I would get out of it. And ultimately, you always come back to this place that you have to make a living. And whatever skills you have and whatever path you get pulled into making a living. So for about 20 years, I was in insurance industry. So I started it as a life insurance salesman and moved my way into management. And the first 10 years of my career, and then the second 10 years of my career, I was doing group health insurance. So, it's different than life insurance, but I was in business. Then I got into doing some stocks and stock markets. And before I was fully pulled into the line of service to work as a full-time spiritual teacher and healer. So
was there a certain push that you know, a reason that you wanted to go into this line of work? Was there a certain drive that was driving you?
Yeah, there is a deep desire inside me there was and there is for understanding the nature of my own existence. And there were always these questions from childhood of what am I doing here on this planet? Where was I before I was born? Where would I go after I die? And I was 6 or 7 years old that I wasn't simply happy with this answer that when you die, you know you are no longer. You don't exist any longer. At age 6, I could not accept that. And I knew that I, as consciousness, or I, as just being, cannot be destroyed, cannot die with the physical body dying. So this understanding or this wisdom was already built in. Now, of course, I had to go through a series of different things in my life before it really surfaced and it became my main objective in life. And you just have to go through a lot of hoops and ups and downs and all kinds of different things before it, for me at least, to really surface and it becomes a full-time endeavor. But as far as becoming a healer or becoming a spiritual teacher, I knew down deep at one point in my life, I had something to do with becoming a teacher. But I wasn't very clear how this would happen, especially when I was deeply involved as a business owner, having an insurance agency and selling a group health insurance to businesses in northern Arizona. I couldn't just see that how this would ever happen. But somehow through the grace of God, you get pulled into it. Mm-hmm. And in a way, in a nutshell, I have to put it this way. It's really not something that we can, in my opinion, it's not something that we can choose. It's not like at age 9, you decide that you want to be a spiritual teacher. You may think you want to be an engineer or a fireman or a spaceman or a policeman. But I want to be a healer or a spiritual teacher is not something that you choose. It's something's chosen for you. And it's an invitation that existence pulls you into this direction and opens up this world to you.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. It's all, yeah, you get pulled into it, but then even once you have awareness of that's your path, you still have the trials and tribulations to kind of move through until you're in a position where you can really make it work. Yeah, and there's these steps and leaps of faith and things that you have to go through to make it work and to pass the tests as such. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, Ethan, I can't one day come and say, you know what, I want to be spiritual. And I'm a complete businessman and I'm totally immersed into the business world and immersed into the normal life, mainstream life, let's put it this way. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. So I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about that the difference between someone who gets pulled into the spiritual world and somebody who says, oh, wow, God, what's God or what's spirit? And all of this is nonsense. So how does one person gets pulled into it and another person is completely indifferent to it? And to me, it's like this spirit has to make itself known to you and pull you in. Otherwise, you would never know about it. You just hear about it through religion or books, but it's haven't touched you in your heart. So to you, it's just it's philosophy, it's a concept, but it's not something you feel.
Absolutely. So when this happened to you, and maybe further along the path, when fifth dimensional healing became, into your awareness, how did that feel, speaking your truth about that, when in this world, I mean, it's not necessarily, it's how do I put it? It's, on the whole, it's not massively accepted, is it? Fifth dimensional healing as such. How did it feel speaking your truth in that sense? How did you have the confidence to speak about that?
Right. Well, that's a loaded question, but I try to explain it as short as possible. Well, everything happened to me in sequences. The first thing was that I had a very profound dream when I was 21 years old. And in this dream, I walk into the kitchen, into our house, and I see my mother's dead. And half of her body had decomposed. She had been dead for maybe 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I don't know. And it was very shocking. I started screaming, no, mother, you can't die, you can't die. And I run to her and I sit next to her, and half of her body had already decomposed and the other half was relatively okay. So I grabbed the hand that was still okay, and I hold her hand in one of my hands and I put my other hand to the sky. I look up and I see a waterfall of light is pouring in and comes through me, goes through my body, goes through my hand to her good hand, and transfers into her body and brings her body back to life. It was very similar to the new science fiction movies we watch, that people are shape-shifting or transforming, and she came to life. She became alive. Wow. Thank God, to this day, I mean, my mother is still alive, bless her heart. And the next morning when I wake up, I knew at one point in my life, I will be doing something in regards to healing, whether it's physical energy healing or it's teaching. Then, but 6-7 years after that, I met a wonderful, incredible healer in San Diego, California, named Adele Tinnings. And I believe she was the most profound healer I've ever encountered in my life. And the encounter with her was very inspiring for me. Now, this is all in my 20s. Now, we fast forward. A number of years after, this was in year 2009, I begin to, throughout this time, the healing energy would come and go. There were times that I had the ability to do healing work, and but it wasn't consistent. I couldn't feel the current of healing energy through my hands at all times. And, of course, naturally you try it, and to do it, you try to manipulate it, and it doesn't work. In 2009, I started to hear voices, whispers in my mind, and they were very clear, as if I'm speaking to you right now, but in a lower tone. It was like a whisper. And I'm hearing these whispers telling me, healing, healing. I keep hearing healing. Now, this goes for a few months, and I'm trying to ignore it. And finally, it comes to a point that I'm fed up with it, and I say, okay, healing, what do you want me to do? They say, go make a business card. Okay, I go make a business card. What do I write on it? They say quantum healing. And then so I don't do it. And then a week after, they say, make a business card, write fifth dimensional quantum healing. And I'm like, what the hell is fifth dimensional quantum healing? And they say, go online and research it. So I go online and I put fifth dimensional quantum healing and I try letter 5 and I write the word fifth and nothing comes up. There is healing, there's quantum healing, there is fifth dimension, but there is no fifth dimensional quantum healing. So I say, there is nothing. They say, yes, we know, because you're going to create it. So, so I'm like, I'm not going to make a business card writing fifth dimensional quantum healing and make a fool out of myself, because I don't even know how to spell fifth dimension or quantum or any of it. So less alone to go out in the world and announce that I'm a fifth dimensional quantum healer, like a ding dong carrying a business card. So, but they're resilient. They don't stop. They keep whispering into my ear. As this is happening, a number of other things happening. A lot of different signs existence is throwing at me, pointing out to go in this direction. And one of the major indications and pointers is that all the other avenues that I was able to make a living are drying out. So all the doors are closing and everything's pushing me going into this direction. And that's a very strong move by the universe, because of course we all have to make a living.
Yes.
And if your avenues of making a living starts to clog down and close down, and you're getting pushed into a certain direction, and that's the only way to go, well, it's very clear you don't have a choice. And you have to do what existence is presenting to you, because you're really trying to do something else, but it's not working.
Right.
So anyway, everything comes to this point that I agree. I say, okay, I'm going to make a business card. I'm starting to read about fifth dimension, about quantum, get myself more familiar, and wait for more messages to come. Then what happens, a very profound experience happened to me. And that was sometimes in May and June of 2009. The first thing happened was I get taken over by these beings, these entities, the spirits that identifying themselves to me as my fifth dimensional guides. And so what happened was they took over my mind and my body. So I'm lying down on the bed in my loft in Venice Beach for a period of 3 weeks, and completely without any control of neither my mind or my body. And I wasn't awake and I wasn't asleep. And I know when I explain this story to some people and they say, wow, so cool. Oh, this is great. But believe me, it was nothing cool about it, because it was the most excruciating, painful experience of that I went through, of not being awake and not being asleep for 3 weeks. It's very, very exhausting. And information is getting downloaded in me. Now, I don't know what was getting downloaded, because everything is happening very fast. I just know that info was being downloaded. That's all I know in this state. I have no idea how I ate, how I went and showered or cleaned myself. Everything is a blank. All I do know was information was being downloaded. So what happened is, after the 3 weeks, I was released. The entities left me. Let's put it in a very clear way. And when that happened, my right hand, my both hands, but mostly right hand, turned into a high frequency transmitter.
Wow.
And ever since that experience, incident, the current of energy, of healing energy, been consistently running through my body. The current sometimes gets stronger or weaker, but it's always there. So it's literally continuously, the healing energy is available to me. So it's no longer like it's there or it's not there. It's there all the time. But the volume can go up and down. And that has nothing to do with me. I can't choose the volume to go higher or lower.
Wow.
It will happen when I'm in a group situation working on a number of people, or if somebody shows up and sits in front of me, then the volume can go up. So what happens is then for 3 weeks, my life goes back to normal. And thank God, because otherwise my parents would take me to an institution because they had thought I lost my mind, or I had done some heavy duty drugs or something that I'm behaving in this way.
Yeah.
So what happened is the first 3 weeks, this is what happens. The second 3 weeks, they leave me alone. And the third 3 week, they come back. They come back and take over again. Same thing. Same thing happens.
Yeah.
They're taking over of me. I'm lying down again on the bed in the loft, in my Venice Beach loft. And for the next 3 weeks, information is being downloaded. After the third 3 weeks, when they leave me, they told me that your third eye is activated now. So what happened was all my psychic abilities enhanced drastically ever since then. Gave me a tremendous amount of insights, being able to see people's auras, gave me ability to touch the aura and fix it, and many, many other information that I get when I encounter other beings. So in a nutshell, this was my biggest transformation in relationship with fifth dimensional entities and beings that I have encountered.
Wow.
And then after that, it was very clear. The message was that you are to go in the world and start doing healing work. So, and in this period of time, as the transition was happening, slowly all the other avenues of income started to get shut down. And it was very clear that this is the only thing I'm meant to do.
Yeah. So it sounds, well, firstly, it's an amazing story, and wow, like having beings enter you and upgrade, or, you know, have downloads and all of this, quite amazing. And, you know, I think people having entities is actually way more common than we think, actually. But in your case, it was in a really positive way, because it allowed you to upgrade your skills and go into the line of work that you wanted to go into, and therefore be in service. So that's absolutely amazing. But, you know, in terms of speaking your truth as such about 5D, I mean, wow, what a hell of a story to be able to tell people. You know, you can't not tell that story. It's you know, it's an amazing story. You know, from that happening to you, you can't really deny it, you know. So yeah, that's amazing. Tell us about the, like, inner voice. What does it mean to be truthful to your heart and intuition? You know, and how can it affect you if you're not?
Well, I believe that the more sensitive you become, the more you get the more expansion happens in our consciousness. The more we get in tune with our inner being. And our inner being, or our inner guru, is always communicating with us from ever since that we entered into this planet. We all have intuitive knowing. Every single human being on this planet, regardless of how conscious or unconscious they are, they have intuitive knowing. So the more you get in tune with yourself, the more you get away from the noise in your mind, because the noise in the mind, the monkey mind, is a different story than intuitive knowing. The intuition that speaks to you is different than the chattering mind.
Mm.
Right. So as I became more in tune with myself and expanded, my consciousness began to expand. And when I say by consciousness expanding, what I mean is that the sense of identification to being a separate entity, to be an egotistic entity. I'm a person and I am separated from the whole. I'm separated from totality. And it's only me and my doing. And I'm here for myself. When that sense starts to change and you begin to feel connected to the universe, you begin to see that really everything is an aspect of yourself. Mm. And regardless of good or bad, it doesn't matter. Regardless whether it's vegetation or animals or other beings or humans, they're all an aspect of yourself. And there's really no separation. You begin to sense that and expand into that. Then you also become more in touch and in tune with your inner voice. And your inner being, your inner voice knows the truth, or the truth of who you are, and always directs you in that way. Where just problem is majority of human beings on the planet, they're too much in their thinking minds, and we're not paying attention to our inner voice. Mm. So in that transition, we get more aligned with our inner being. And then our inner being becomes our inner GPS and starts to direct us in the right direction.
Yes, it does. So basically, the more that we calm ourselves and try and turn off our monkey mind, the more that we can align with who we are and what we're here to do in this world.
Exactly, and what the needs of our being are. Well, what does my being need? Needs. What feels really right? Do I really? What's supporting me? Existence is supporting me with doing what? Where is my energy going? So, what is it I really want to do, and I have energy for? Then. Versus that, what's my mind telling me? And this is really good for you. You should be doing this. But I get up in the morning and I have no energy for doing that. But I'm pulled into doing something else, which doesn't make sense, maybe logically, but my being is pulling me in that direction. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced that when I do follow my intuitive knowing, it always sets me free. Now, let me explain one thing to your audience as well, that emotions are different than inner knowing. Inner knowing is a deep understanding, deep knowing of what our being wants versus passing emotions. So a lot of people are mistaking the passing emotions, the feelings that come and go, with their inner knowing, and they can get themselves into trouble.
So how do people come more into alignment with their intuition?
Right. Well, meditation is definitely a practice to get more in tune with our inner being. And there's a number of different sort of meditations that are out there. So because what meditation does is primarily is aiming at bypassing the monkey mind and to go beyond the mind and to go into this space of silence, this space that is quiet. And then by entering into this place, you can say you go beyond your mind, or you're going from your head to your heart. Either way, it works for you. But by entering into this space, going from the thinking mind into beyond the mind, in a way of saying that you enter into the space of here and now, this vastness that is present. And in this place that there's no agendas and there's no goal, you're just hanging out with your own being. Then that provides the opportunity to hear what your being is saying.
That's totally useful piece of information for the world that we live in, where everything's really fast paced. We're either looking at our phones, answering emails, driving in traffic to work. If we can just spend that little bit of time just centering ourselves and meditating, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, we can gain so much more clarity around who we are as a person, what we're here to do, and really align with what our mission is in this world.
Absolutely.
It's great. So you talked about third eye opening when you were talking about your story. Could you tell us a little bit more about how, what is the third eye? What happens when it's open?
Right. Well, when we talk about third eye, really, what we do have three eyes. The third one is our pineal gland. And pineal gland is tucked in between the two hemispheres of the brain. So it's somewhere back here. And it's sitting right in between the two hemispheres of the brain. It's not in the brain, it's outside of the brain. And when scientists dissected the pineal gland, they discovered that inside this gland, there's a lens, there's a cornea, and there's a retina. And this gland is capable of observing. So that's why it's called the all-seeing eye. Now, the part that interests you and I as a spiritual seeker is that pineal gland secretes a substance called dimethyltryptamine. It's also known as DMT. Now, the secretion of DMT by pineal gland, what it does is it gives us first-hand spiritual experiences. So the more pineal gland produces DMT, the more spiritual experiences we have, or it enhances our psychic abilities by the production of DMT through pineal gland. Now, when we're talking about the third eye, we're talking about pineal gland, and that's the third eye.
Right.
Now, what happened for me is when I went through this activation in 2009, and my hands turned into this high-frequency transmitter, my right hand particularly, in the beginning, I had no idea why I'm attracted to putting my finger on someone's third eye. I mean, I had seen pictures from masters of old days masters doing this to their disciples, but I had no idea why I'm doing it because it just looked really cool. So I'm just mimicking it. But then I realized that what happens is my hand is sending light wave, a certain kind of frequency being sent to pineal gland. Pineal gland is bioluminescent. It gets activated through light. Light wave activates pineal gland. So if you're able to, let's say, point out a flashlight to pineal gland begins to work and get activated. Naturally, we can't cut through the brain and put a flashlight to it, but what we can do is we can send frequency, light waves, to the pineal gland. So that's what happened. I started to put my finger on people's third eye, and then their pineal gland began to get activated, and they would have visions, or they would have out-of-body experiences, or they would have encounters with third eye, with trans-dimensional beings, or their psychic or artistic abilities would begin to really enhance.
Wow.
I have worked with some actors or actresses or singers or authors who were blocked, and they couldn't sing, they couldn't write, or they got to a point in their life they couldn't do their acting, and I worked on them and got their pineal gland activated again, and all their abilities started to flow through again.
Wow. Yeah, there's also you can, with it activating the DMT in you, you can also, I know there's this stuff called ayahuasca that you can drink. It's you obviously know about it, shamanic tea. You can drink, and you can have a experience in which DMT works within you, and I know how powerful that is. It can really unblock you. So in terms of the third eye, it's an energy center, right, that we have in our body. Can you tell us a little bit about energy centers, or how energy works in our bodies?
Well, absolutely. This is a planet of energy. So this planet is basically made out of energy, and energy is everywhere. So even a hard matter like this wall, it's made out of condensed energy. So once we understand this part, that this is a planet of energy, and also human bodies, their energy fields, that when we start to see or touch, feel the auric field, we begin to touch it, and we become aware of it, that all of a sudden, through playing with the touching the auric field or restoring it, a lot of psychological issues or emotional issues or physical issues can disappear. So the energy is here, and we feel it. You can feel it in your hands. You can feel it with different people or different places that you go to. You know, you can go to a very beautiful island in South Pacific or whatever, and all of a sudden you just say, wow, the energy is so good, I feel so good here. Or you can go to somewhere that is dark, and you tell yourself, oh, this is like, I don't like the vibrations of this place, correct?
Yeah.
So it's a reality. It's not something that we're making it up, or something that it's woo-woo, or some people have access to it or not. We're all made out of energy. So understanding this part, you know, which is vital to understand that this is a planet of energy, and energy is everywhere, then bring us to this other part that, okay, how can I be in touch with it? How can I access this energy field, or manipulate it, or use it for healing, or any kind of beneficial ways that it's constructive? So basically, from when we get to that point, then we need to get more in tune with this energy field and learn various ways, whether through exercises, practices, or meditation, of how to tune into it and be able to play with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's you're so right. It's a massive piece of the puzzle for our own development that we need to understand. And modern day science is, you know, we've got quantum physics now, and bit by bit they're understanding a little bit more. But because I guess it's very hard to quantify, you know, it's very hard to measure. You know, it's still one of those things that's we're still getting to understand in the scientific world. But it was definitely a massive breakthrough for me, understanding that you know, this table here is made out of, you know, energy, and therefore I am made out of energy as well, and I have energy fields around me and energy centers running through my body. And once I can master those, then really I can then master my reality. And it's a really key piece of the puzzle. So my next question is, do you have any examples of an exercise or a strategy that our viewers might be able to use around managing their energy, or, you know, mastering their energy, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, there are some very simple meditation. What happens is that ultimately we can raise our energy, our vibrations, to a higher frequency through being quiet. And it's very interesting. The deeper I go into this, and the more I'm just blown away that by being quiet, by getting out of our mind, by entering into silence, okay, we activate an energy field. A grid gets activated. And what it does is raises our vibrations to a higher frequency, just simply by being quiet. Now, this being quiet, whether you're just sitting somewhere and you're able to become quiet, or you're doing some active meditations to make you quiet, which is practically free. It's available to you at any moment that you want to do. You don't need anybody, or you don't need to change your clothing or hairstyle or diet or anything, or go to another geographical place on the planet. You just basically learn how to be quiet and go beyond your mind. And by doing that, your vibration starts to change. So now, as simple as it sounds to be, but a lot of people come and tell me, oh my God, I find this the most difficult thing to do. That when I sit down and try to be quiet, my mind goes to everything and everywhere but being quiet. So what can I do to be quiet and raise my vibrations, raise my energy to a higher level? And but I can't do that. Well, then in that case, I would say we use active meditations. You know, active meditations, they're very simple methods that you can do. You can stand up and start closing your eyes and bringing your attention to one point and start jumping up and down. And let's say you go by hoo, 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 and you keep your attention on one point, and you do it for a minute or two, and you stop. And you keep your attention on one point, and you'll be amazed how quickly you become really quiet and your energy starts to raise and you begin to feel it. That's one way. Another way is, let's say you don't want to jump up and down. You're on a wheelchair, or you're at a place you can't do it. Fine. You can just sit, close your eyes, and bring your attention on one point. So you put your attention on your third eye, or you put your attention on your heart, whatever works for you, whatever is easier for you. And you start to speak a language you've never spoken. So we call it gibberish or blah, blah, blah meditation. So you close your eyes and you start going like, and you talk for like a minute or two. And then you become quiet. You stop. You keep your attention here. And all of a sudden you start seeing like an elevator going into silence. You're moving. You do this once or twice. And then you start getting more quiet and more quiet. And as I mentioned, the more you become quiet, the higher are your vibrations. The more you're in your head, the more you're busy in your mind, the lower are your vibrations. So it's kind of counterintuitive. So those are a couple of examples that you can be using. Or let's say laughing. Let's say some people say, well, I can't just blah, blah, blah. Okay, laugh. Can you be quiet, close your eyes, and start laughing? You laugh for 5 minutes, and then you stop. And then your energy level starts to change.
Wow, thank you for those tools. I'll certainly be giving those a go. Yeah, because it can be difficult sometimes, you know, when you've got things you're thinking about with work or relationship stuff or whatever it is that's coming up for you at that time. So yeah, thank you for that. And viewers, definitely give that a go. Unfortunately, we are coming towards the end of the interview. Would you be able to, so you have a free gift that you are offering. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. It's a heart awakening self-love and self-acceptance meditation that I've created. That it's a 6-step meditation, and it designed for us to come to this space, this place of presence and love and acceptance of ourselves. So all the 6 steps in this meditation are helping us to come to our own being and to actually seeing our own perfection and our beauty. To really, if human beings could really see that if we could pull our masks away and go beyond our own story and our judgment or whatever has been conditioned, we've been conditioned with, that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not worthy enough, okay? Whether it's been implemented into our psyche from childhood or throughout our lives, we've gone through different experiences and we've become bitter, okay? So because we're basically our worst enemy as far as self-judgment and lack of self-love. Yeah. And in this meditation, we bypass the mind, the chatter, and we come to this place and we have an encounter with our own inner being. And we begin to see that we are the very source of love. And love actually comes from here. So that's what this meditation is designed for, to make us realize and come to self-love and self-acceptance.
Great. Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. And thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. Well, I really appreciate it. I'm sure the viewers do as well. So thank you for being on here and sharing all of your wisdom. And thank you to all the viewers as well for watching. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another amazing interview where we'll interview someone else who will also share all of their experience and wisdom. So thank you, and much love and peace to you.
Thank you very much, Ethan. It's my pleasure. God bless.
God bless.